All right, I'm gonna be brave. I'm gonna mix the meat with the potatoes.
Howdy doody, my name is Andrew Dugas. Welcome to the Yoga Better podcast, the structure of a prairie home companion and the sound design of a wannabe radio lab. Today's episode is a little different. My oldest son is in college, and on the way to drop him off, we decided we'd spend a couple days to visit my family in Plainview, Texas. My sister and her family and my parents now live there together in a big giant house over 100 years old, with a big old wraparound porch, giant sliding doors, creaky wood floors, and an atmosphere of love, fun, and family. We had already started recording for the podcast, and so I walked around with a mic. I got lots of very sweet little silly interactions. Recorded my youngest son Caravaggio and I playing piano together, a trio moment with my sister, her 17-year-old son, and myself, a solo of my nephew Roland playing an original piece, and then lots and lots of chopsticks. We baked cookies on a Saturday, and so there was lots of hullabaloo between burnt cookies, trying to eat raw cookie dough off a spoon, and the general communal manufacture of, I think, 5 or 6 different kinds of cookies, all orchestrated by my sister in her big giant kitchen there. The whole time my father taking care of silly crazy dogs, walking around, doing errands and chores like a crazy person the way he normally does. My brother-in-law Troy working every day as a lawyer there, and my mother oscillating between planning fun trips, watching Korean TV dramas on Netflix, and being silly and having fun with her kids and grandkids. My family loves laughing. I grew up in a gregarious house, very loving, very sweet, but also snarky and smart. My mother's a lover of books, and if you see my house, you can see that's where I got that from. My father, a great appreciator of humor, had the benefit of being very hard of hearing, and with a bunch of snarky teenagers in the house, were able to capitalize on many of his clarifying questions on misheard statements. To such a deep extent, these things are burnt into our memories. They are classics in the Dugas family. And my memories of us as a family laughing, just this vivid image of my father in tears laughing, it changes you. It's the kind of way I'd hope to be and create with my family. In playing this episode for my wife, I got to watch her be in tears laughing at how silly her sections are and all the jokes and all the kids. And my idea was that I would do a podcast where instead of the normal structure, we have a conversation. Today it's between Andrea and I on what it's like to build a business with your spouse. Running a business together, it's one of the things we're most proud of. When you take the teacher training, one of the things I promise is that you take the course because of me and you stay because of Andrea. And one of the added benefits is we get to demonstrate a loving relationship. And I think that that's, many of you don't need that, but some of you do. And if you haven't been able to sort of see a functional, loving relationship, who knows whether we'll be together next year, but right now it is a possibility. And how do you do that while adding all of the stress of running a business together, particularly in the time of COVID? That'll be the first in a 3-part series where we open up the can of worms that is what happens when you take 2 personalities with 2 different histories, squish them together, living together with kids and financial responsibilities, put them in the same house together, and then have to do all the necessary creative troubleshooting, overcoming work that you need to do when you're a partner with somebody. We love that work. And then interspersed throughout the course of this podcast are recordings from our little 3-day stay with our loving Plainview family. You'll hear my mother play her autoharp, my sister's morphing British accent, my wife doing handstands in the grass and beautiful weather in their front yard, my father doing his regular work of cautioning against stepping in dog poop, the silly fun creativity of all of our kids, all wrapped up in a neat package. Instead of there being an Andrew's Obsessions this podcast, I figured my obsession is laughter with my family. I'm so happy to share it with you. And it begins now.
What do you call it when you buy like several gallons of strawberries and then you come back in an hour and Caravaggio has taken the seeds out of all of them? And so you have to go and put all of them back on each berry individually, and it causes you so much stress that you start to go bald.
It's the receding hairline.
Yeah.
Yes.
No one wants pecans. You are the only one. I told her that. She was like, no, that can't be right. What? I can't be the only one who loves pecans.
Be proud.
I do like pecans, but on their own.
Not an everything.
Or maybe pecan pie.
I like chicken salad sandwiches.
Chicken salad sandwich.
Yes, but pecans and chicken salad sandwiches. fruit salads and
She just likes pecans and everything.
I do.
Oh,
It's like bacon. Pecans is like bacon.
Oh,
Goes with everything.
I'm not a meat guy, but this is good.
Welcome to Hey Andrea. It's where we talk to Andrea.
My arms are so bent.
Do you like doing handstands?
I do. They're very fun.
What's your favorite part?
Well, it gets my heart rate up. It's also harder than I can do. I fail at it, so it's nice to fail safely. And what else do I like about it? I like pretending like my hands are feet. And I like imagining when I'm standing on 1 foot or 2 feet, it bounces so easy just because I keep my butt over my feet. And so playing around with that feel in my hands I like doing that. Also, handstands are better than forearm stands because your hands are tougher than your forearms, and so if I could get a handstand, that'd be super nice.
Stick it.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, I was fighting so much. TikTok. Trip Doc. This is so amazing. It feels so wonderful out here. I don't feel like this is possible, and then we're here, and it is. You have an ant on your toe. Doesn't look like a bitey ant though. It's right in between your toes over here. Okay. So I'm gonna do this kind of handstand. So I don't think I'll hit you, but just straddle. Thank you. With a donkey kick?
Donkey kick with the donkey. Whoa!
Oh, this is gonna kick. I'm gonna try to kick over this. Nice. I cannot believe I can do that.
So good. Shoulder.
I used to always say that I wanted to do that, but I didn't think I'd ever actually be able to do it. Just so crazy in my 40s, I am now able to do a kick over. My face is, the grass is poking my eyes. I feel so free and my body is so crazy. All right. Feels good to move my body, that's for darn sure.
There's no master fader. So, go fuck yourself. So let me check
Oh,
check
that's
one thing.
very good.
No way. 1 second. So there's so many crazy parallels about our parents. So my parents, your parents, they never worked together. They never worked
Have a
on.
business, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Where rent doesn't get paid if our marriage, like if our marriage doesn't work, we lose everything.
Yeah.
I don't keep my job. And most people caution against working as a couple. Most marriages don't work out, so it makes sense that most
Understandably.
understandably.
No, I'm so sorry. No, I wasn't saying.
Most marriages,
That's not what I meant.
most marriages don't work
I'm
out.
sorry.
My wife says, I get that.
It was. I do. But what that comment was meant for is that comment was meant for the previous statement. Most people caution against working together, which is understandable.
The timing is very important.
Timing was like very delayed joke telling, or I think it's Borat when he's trying to learn how to tell jokes.
Not
Jokes.
Not jokes.
Wait, what? Oh yeah, not. That's right.
You are very good looking not. Most marriages don't actually make it, so it makes sense.
Is that true? Most
yes, more than
don't?
50% of marriages end in divorce or murder, I think, is one of those two. And so if you're going to start a business with your partner, like Bill Burr's bit about marriage where you bet another person half your shit, right? That's kind of what marriage is, where you say, well, statistically speaking, we are all going to die, but let's jump off this cliff anyway. And there's an intuitive way it makes sense why the generations younger than us don't get married or wait to get married. We were raised by Disney for sure, and happily ever after and all that stuff. And I'm absolutely upfront and romantic. And you sort of, through your self-hate and whatever, thought you couldn't get married, but you still wanted it.
Well, it's interesting. For the longest time, there's this thing that you just said, and I remember hearing people be really upset about Disney, and I'm always thinking, like, what's the big deal? What's the problem with Disney? Honestly, it wasn't until very recent that I realized the problem.
What is the problem?
There is no working on anything in a Disney movie.
That's not true, but you don't see the fight. You don't see the interpersonal problems. The struggle is the evil witch or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, you don't see the interpersonal.
Right.
You don't see the squabble. You don't see the dark nights. Who is it? We'll look up who said it, but the quote where I've never felt so alone as when I was married.
I've not heard that before.
The thwarted expectation. The problem with Disney is that it sets up this expectation that once you overcome the evil queen, then you're done. Mm-hmm. Well, no, the evil queen is the metaphor for all the fucking shit you have to deal with yourself and the stupid partner you married that XYZ, right? And
that isn't you.
That isn't you, and doesn't obey you, and doesn't and you're stupid, right? You're stupid. You think you're stupid, so you hate yourself, and then the other person does something dumber than you would have done. It's like a nightmare. Mm-hmm. You have to deal with yourself and another stupid person. Like, I get why people don't have kids either. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's not easy to do all that stuff. So, and I love loving love, and loving how much I love love. I go 3 levels on that one.
Love.
I love loving. It's super satisfying. Why did we start a business together? Like, you could have gone back into some kind of workforce.
I could have. But, the problem with going back to something different, I was essentially in the same world, fitness. it isn't the same, but
So I was a classical musician, which meant I felt like doing whatever the fuck I wanted. Mm-hmm. So I said, hey, society. And society says, hey, you be responsible and have a savings account. I'm like, I want to wiggle my fingers and literally play for a living.
I'm moving my head with your head.
Right, so what do you do? What do you do when you execute your instrument professionally? You play music. I played for a living, right?
You said execute. I was like, kill your instrument? I don't understand.
When you actually do the thing you're paid for, you play music. That's a pretty antisocial, fuck societal norms kind of thing. And so I knew that my commitment to my family, I would be willing to do anything. I'd be willing to go into banking, or I'd be willing to become a dentist for sure. That's not that bad a career. Okay, maybe you get some Baker's cysts and some back pain from leaning over and looking at people's faces all day, but it's an honorable profession, makes plenty of money if you know how to take care of your business. It can work, and it's reliable, and I can make a difference in the community and make a difference in people's health and how many girlfriends they can have with their ridiculously white chompers. Because I sort of have this antisocial, anti-societal norm bent, I'm comfortable not doing what everybody told me to do. Being an entrepreneur was easier for me. As you know, one of the biggest problems of running your own business is we can give ourselves like a regular paycheck, but the income for the business is not consistent month to month. And that
is a really tough one.
Yeah, emotionally, it's super tough.
There's nothing to stand on, no ground to stand on.
There is a ground to stand on. It's just not
consistent.
You can pretend that your job at Exxon is super sure. The problem with your job at Exxon is they can fire you or go to business. My dad got laid off twice from oil companies. You can get laid off tomorrow. They don't have to fucking give you an excuse. Yeah. They don't have to give you a pension. They don't have to give you anything. No severance, 2 weeks notice, you're out. Or or what happens to so many businesses, you walk up to work and the doors are chained shut. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what happened to Goldman Sachs. Right? It's just, we're gone now.
Back it up, I'm gonna back it up. My daddy taught me good.
I am more comfortable than you being poor, one. So that the risk for me is less emotionally, psychologically. I don't want to be poor. I'm very motivated to not be poor. But, the most powerful bargaining position you can be in any negotiation is your willingness to walk away from the table. Okay, I have spent 5 years working on this project. I'm trying to get this contract with this new business. I'm trying to buy a company. If I am impervious to the sunk cost fallacy, you remember sunk cost? It's a cognitive bias where your ability to judge whether you should continue doing a thing is impacted by how much time or money you've invested already. And it's mostly time. When people describe sunk costs, they talk about money. If you look at it, it's hard to get perspective and it's hard to think critically generally. But if I look on paper and I say, well, I've spent $5 million on this project already. Okay, great. That doesn't mean anything if it's going to cost you $50 million to finish it. And when you finish it, it will be a failed business. Mm-hmm. Right? You will only spend money and there will be no returns.
Right.
You will save $50 million and all those years of your life if you stop now. And that's hard to see. And this is why people stay in bad relationships. I know, she says. Oh, I can understand with that completely. This is why people stay in failed businesses, bad jobs. They've invested all this time. I only have 4 more years to my pension. And people can be happy like that. I'm not criticizing that they're doing something wrong, but I am less sensitive. I'm less coerced by sunk costs. I can quit anything at any point. I'm willing to start over.
Yes, you are.
And because I have a lot. I've reinvented myself. Divorce trains you good. It's like, I did not want my life to go that way. It's like, okay, what the fuck am I going to do now?
Right.
And I can just sit and complain about it, or I can, all right, literally start my life again, where everything that I invested in, all of everything, my identity, I was a family man. I went to work and I came home to be with the one person that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And it's like, now I'm fucking by myself and it's not fun.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, literally.
What I'm trying to say is I recommend divorce. If you've never tried it, just get into it. It's really good training. It's like a handstand for your soul.
And, also not that. It was also okay, too.
For those of you, when we do our relationship podcasts, you'll know one of the things that you must know about me is I love working on relationships. I think that's one of the things we can talk about. We must talk about today is if we're going to start a business together, you have to work on your relationship. But I also love divorce. And so I think maybe, would you say that when you and I fight, like I can go dark and I'm not rational all the time, but there's not a clinginess to my despair. Like if I think you hate me and you're going to leave me or something, it's not like the real end of my life because I've been through this before. You're literally everything to me, and all of my eggs are in one basket. I don't have a pinky toe outside this door. But the truth is, you could die or you could leave me. Anything can happen. And if I step back with a big enough perspective, am I willing to do the work to be happy again? A fucking course. I still have children. I still have whatever precious few minutes I have left in my life. Almost every living thing that has ever lived was murdered early by some other bigger thing, was eaten alive. And if they could, every living thing that has ever lived would give anything to have my worst day. So yeah, I'm going to honor like what a crazy privilege it is. Not stop whining after a few months and go create my life. Maybe try to win you back.
A few months, you think so?
Yeah, I'll give you a few months. I will cry myself to sleep.
Because that's better than a few weeks.
I'll cry myself
to sleep. A few days.
I'll cry myself to sleep every night for a few months, I promise. If you leave me. If you die, it'll be a little different now. I'll give you a year.
A few months, that's still not very long.
It is not. And for some of you, it's uncomfortable. When I first started talking like this, it made you uncomfortable. Death, leaving, quitting yoga.
The quitting thing, because I know you would, not like you would quit and you wouldn't create something else, but that you have the capacity to just like stop doing stuff and it doesn't occur as willy-nilly. You started to get into yoga because you were in pain. But yeah, I know that you are capable of that. And it didn't really bother me, because you're not saying I'm quitting tomorrow, but I know that you can.
Mentally, to me, it looked like you were uncomfortable. Just how freely I was. To me, it looked like you used to be uncomfortable when I'd say you could leave me tomorrow.
A little bit.
But now you've heard me say that in every teacher training.
Right. Well, and I like knowing that. I like knowing I can leave you. I like knowing you can leave me. And this is the thing I've always said with kids, more or less. I mean, there are caveats to the statement, but when you have children, it doesn't matter you like them or not. You don't get to like get rid of your kids. They're your kids. Like you have to deal with what you got, and
her eyebrows are really high right now.
With the goal that they make it until they're 18 and you did your job and they are able to have some kind of functional life and contribute to society.
And then you give them the boot. Get out of here, kid.
It's not like luck I like my children. I have done the work to like my children, but they're not movable pieces. When it comes to marriage, I like knowing that it's something that we're opting in.
You're here by choice.
I can leave you. I'm not stuck with you. I'm not like I have to go home to Andrew. And the interesting thing has been, I remember when we were in Oregon, Oregon. And this was before we were getting married. And I remember having this feeling because I was just the whole time trying to sort myself out. The relationships I've been in the past have never been good for me or healthy.
Right.
And I can see where I went off in those relationships. And so now I'm having these emotions with you and they feel specific to you, but they're also familiar and the circumstances are different, but the feeling is the same. And I remember sitting in the rocking chair and you had done something and I remember hating you so much. like hating you. Like intensely, like being so mad about something you said or probably a look you gave me or you didn't ask me for something nice.
Tone.
Your tone. I remember noticing that feeling coming up and I was like, all right. And then it wasn't 15 minutes later, something else happened and I remember looking at you and just loving you so much. It was just like insanity how quickly I had gone like polar opposites. And that, I mean, I would say that was not the first time I had a realization. Like it sort of made my brain stop a little bit like, wait a second, what's happening? Now I still was upset. I did not be upset, but it was something that I held on to.
That's skepticism.
Yeah, skepticism.
Skepticism and curiosity, where most people, so if you read Facebook, which I don't, and I recommend that you delete Facebook right now. One of the things you could read is, like if you're listening to this on YouTube and there's comments, YouTube, people can be anonymous. And when you read YouTube comments, you will hear people executing the normal human being thing of effortlessly criticizing the actions of other human beings. Because when it comes to other human beings, we're not very good, like super rigorous and accurate, but we are prolifically skeptical, cynical, questioning, unsatisfiable with other human beings. And their behavior and actions and their ideas, their suggestions, what they choose. But then, to me, what I was hearing, when you had that, it was one of those super important self-doubting moments where you get like, in literature they call it an unreliable narrator. The narrator is the person telling the story. Often it's a person outside of the story. Sometimes it's a person who's in the story. Sometimes it's like a godlike character talking
sort of
about
like
the things.
What's that show you watched recently? Bridgerton or something?
Bridgerton.
That's
yeah.
would be,
So there's the person talking that's describing the stuff. And sometimes it's like the main character and you're looking at it through their eyes. And at some point, like in the beginning, you don't actually know whether what they're saying is accurate. Faulkner in particular was good at this. Like you realize kind of halfway through the story, like, oh, they're not telling me the truth. They're hiding stuff. Well, we do that to us all the time.
For sure.
And so you kind of got some clarity.
Yeah, that was one of those moments where, and it's a weird thing because how do you know what to trust? I mean, it's funny. I always tell people that there are voices. There are sometimes you have these thoughts like, I don't want to get up and go to work in the morning. And you don't listen to those. But somehow you listen to the voices that say I'm ugly or I listen to the voice that says I'm not good enough. Like, why do you listen to those? But then you get out of bed and go to work in the morning or whatever. Part of the thing that I discovered as far as that is concerned is I've never been in a relationship that I am proud of, and so I can't actually trust the me that has opinions about anything in that world.
Right, until now.
Well, now, of course now, but this is back then.
Right.
And so just noticing that I could flip like that, I had never just seen it, so it was crazy to watch that happen.
I'm pretty good for that. Like
you are.
Almost every person you were ever with before is boring, bland, middle of the road, and leaning towards asshole-ish. I cover all of it.
You do.
You've never met a bigger asshole than me, and you've never met somebody sweeter than me.
That's true.
And I can.
The thing about no, hold on a second. What I want to say is that I would argue that you're never an asshole. Just your delivery looks like you're an asshole. So
really,
if you packaged it differently,
everyone in the world would agree that what you said sounded like. But who you are as a person, definitely not an asshole. So working on relationships, there needs to be some kind of thing to stand on if you're going to build something together. Now, marriage is a thing that you build. Family is a thing that you build. Your home is a thing you build. People don't realize how stressful that is. If you didn't know, moving is one of the most stressful things. So imagine having to move because you're getting evicted, right? Like these are scarringly intense life experiences because it's hard to move because it takes time to build a kitchen together and have a function.
When you say building, you're not literally talking about building. You're talking about like
designing, curating. But it's like a lot of elbow grease. It takes fucking time to like, oh shit,
where does
we
this
need
go?
mittens.
Where does that go?
We need
mittens.
oven mitts. Somebody's got to go to Williams-Sonoma and buy some goddamn
Well,
mittens.
just use your oven mitts that you had in the it's a cake.
Well, if you're 22, you don't have shit. Right? You got to build something. Yeah, bring it from your previous marriage. And And so I think that there is a difference between you and I. And let's circle back to this question I asked you. I'm comfortable in the uncertainty that we could not have a home next month, right? And so there's risk. And so that's actually one of the most stressful things about the last 8 years since I started the video project, where I'm taking a huge amount of our income and putting it towards video equipment, recording equipment, websites. Like, these are huge gambles. We could have bought much property with the stuff. So instead of buying the property now and then waiting 10 years to start the website or the videoing, documenting, I was concerned that I might die next year. And so let's invest all this stuff now. So at the very least, we can document it. And then if I do die next year, there's a thing that you can propagate and sell and continue to teach and actually grow the style and the business and add to it. But there'll be a foundation. Right. That was super important to me 10 years ago. 11 fucking. That's insane. When we started all this stuff. It's called risk, right? You are really risking a lot. With small business, reward is unlikely, actually. On a long enough scale, it is most likely you will fail. Well, here we are. I mean, we're almost 10 years into Yoga Better, and we're still here. Right. And it seems like over the years you have gotten more comfortable with that.
Sure. I mean, I think you asked me
but
why did I decide to go into business.
But we have a business together, but you had choices. Like, you could have done anything.
I could have.
You really like working in offices.
That was gratifying to actually accomplish stuff, and I knew what to do, but what I didn't want to do is sit in a chair. And so that's what had me get my degree in exercise science. I wanted to make sure I was moving around. I don't want to be stuck in an office. The reason I am doing this is 100% because I believe in it. Why I'm here, why we have a business, why we have a studio. I know that I care about movement. I know that I care about other people moving, including myself moving my body. I want that always to be important to me. Fitness doesn't give me quality of life like Yoga Better does. I might do fitnessy stuff from time to time. I'm aware of the difference that this can make for people, and I want everyone to have it. I graduated college. I'm working at the Houstonian. I become a trainer, and there's this feeling of like I'm supposed to know what to do. But it occurs to me, like I have all the bits of information, but none of it's applicable. And I realized very soon that we have some people there is some thoughtfulness that's going into how they're training people. But for the most part, everyone's guessing. Right. And so one of the things I really got that was so refreshing to me about you is that when I would talk to you, it wasn't like you were just saying some stuff. It was clear that you had done thinking and looking, and the stuff that I did that you told me to do actually helped. I wish I had had this teacher training when I was a trainer. This would have been, it would have been so much more, like I would have been able to help people so much more. And so having those two little pieces together, it's like, I thought about it the same way as I know that you can leave me and I can leave you. It's nice to know. I'm always like, is this where I want to be? I'm just always sort of like resetting myself so that I am choosing our business.
You get to re-choose all the time.
But
There were no bird cookies. Oh, were there bird cookies?
Yeah,
No one told me about bird cookies.
You want bird cookies? They're gluten-free.
Bubba took a bite. He said, "Oh, just like Mom made."
No, there's no cigarette butts in it, so it couldn't have been my mom's cookies.
But that's what has me. There's nothing, I have not found anything that is as valuable and as, like, this is worth my life.
Right.
I would pay, I am just, I think you've said this recently, I will die early. Certainly from the stress of this last year, from the stress, even without this last year. I mean, it's hard work. No one's telling me what to do, and I'm supposed to figure it out. I don't know what questions to ask, and I don't know where to go. And
you're the goddamn boss.
It's so frustrating, and it's just, I keep reminding.
What the fuck else are you going to do?
What am I going to do? If I don't do this, no one else is going to. So whether it takes me a day or 14 years.
You get that damn email out.
I'm going to get that email out, like, come hell or high water. So that's why I said, let's have a studio, because I love people. To be fair. Doobie boop boop.
Eat your damn chicken.
I'm not usually a cannibal, but this will make me change my mind.
Punny, fart.
Pukey, puke, puke.
Puke.
I do. Every time I burp, I say burp while I burp.
I've had a very wonderful joke week.
Yeah?
But I did not do a good job.
Oh, no. You didn't capture them?
I didn't capture most of them. Nice.
Like a fart in the wind, just disappears.
Pert near.
Pretty near. There are going to be some people like, I'm not listening to these guys anymore. They burp. They probably fart too. And then you'd be giving someone a possible fart attack.
What do you call a get-together of flatulent friends?
What?
Farty party. What do you call it when you're late to said party?
What?
Farty party tardiness. What do you call it if everybody at the farty party is at Harvard? It's a smarty farty party. I like when you're confused.
You like when I'm confused?
I like the look on your face.
Well, I am very expressive with my face.
So you got some jokes this week?
Some of these are jokes from our road trip, and they have to do with city names. We drove by a city, and we saw the name, and then by we, I mean you made a joke about it,
Okay,
and
great.
I wrote a couple of them down.
Well, so we were on this road trip, and we drove by...
What, Cheetah Falls?
What, Cheetah Falls?
She wasn't paying attention. She's broke. What, Cheetah Falls?
Yeah, Wichita Falls. What, Cheetah Falls?
Wichita Falls. Okay, did you hear about the guy named Theodore who was always hurting, and the only thing that helped ease his suffering was if he dipped himself in different buckets of color?
I did hear about that, but I can't quite remember.
You'll remember when I tell you. Everyone called him Painted. Painted.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best type of insect to bake with as well as you... Oh, I know what it is. You ready?
I'm ready.
Adobe.
Adobe.
That was good. What are the biggest kind of ants?
What are the biggest kind of ants?
Giants. Okay. What color would Toast most likely prefer to wear at a library party?
What color, if Toast had a choice, would it wear at a library party? I don't know.
Bread. What color does my grandma love to wear as she answers the phone?
Orange, you glad you called?
No. Yellow.
Yellow.
What color do most wildlife parks pick as their brand colors?
Brand colors for wildlife parks? You tell me.
Azure.
Nice.
What do you call it if you count all the foot phalanges of all the people around you?
I have a theory, but I guess I'll just have to ask you what.
A toe tally. Toe tally. And then what if you do that while golfing and refusing to sip on alcohol?
Oh, no. This I've never heard. What?
Teetotalier.
And teetotalier.
Okay, why don't your feet get along?
Well, they do get along when I like giddy up, but in terms of like relationship, sibling rivalry?
Relationship,
Okay,
yeah.
I don't know.
Because they're arch enemies.
That joke falls flat on some people.
It does.
Women's feet are fungals. What? I'm curious, of all the animals, which defecates on dinnerware?
Roaches. But that's not really a joke, so your turn.
Yeah, that's just true. Platey poops. And then that same glass I made up. Did you hear about the big old muscled lady who dumped a boyfriend because he was as muscly as her?
A muscly lady dumped a boyfriend because he was as muscly as her. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's too much X her size. All right, so I had a performance and I needed ballet dancers, so I called the Houston Ballet and I asked for a dozen dancers, and they sent 14. And it's just too many.
Too many?
It's too too many.
Two tutus too many. That's very good. I'm glad you re-said that because I did not. Two tutus too many.
It's too too many. It's very fun to say. When a ballet dancer's uniform is so long it droops into a skirt, it's too long. And then tutu can work for anything. What do you call a disgruntled ballet dancer? Tutu sad.
What do you call it when a ballet dancer hops on a train?
Tutu train.
And toots and goes and foughts.
It's a tutu train toot?
It's a tutor.
All right, you got two more?
Two more. What kind of party would your lower leg most likely throw? That has shovels and dirt. The shindig.
Shindig. Nice.
Noise. Why is it so hard for yogis to vacuum in corners?
That is a problem. It's gross over there.
Because they don't have attachments.
What kind of after dinner treat do people get at the ashram? Detachments. What is the most popular thing for ligaments to do in traditional yoga classes? To detach.
That's not good.
That's not one, that's two.
Who? It's a spoon. Don't eat this. Do not eat this. What? What?
I know.
She turned into an owl. She turned into an owl.
No, don't eat this.
Why? Give me a good reason.
Raw egg, salmonella, and death.
I guess we're in
It'd be worth it though, wouldn't it?
No. No. I don't want an early death. I don't want an early death, so I guess I'll just.
Keep going, man. You're doing great.
I've managed a bunch of studios. I've studied studios as a business, and what I knew that I didn't want to do is start a studio, because if you're going to make a living as a yoga instructor, there's only two ways to do it, and neither involve you instructing yoga mostly. One is you start a studio and you become a studio owner and you manage that business. That's not teaching. That's finding a way to pay rent on a space so you can exploit other instructors. That's what that is. So you could really just make them work for free. Or you can become famous and travel and do workshops and teach, and then you're mostly a performer, which is good, like rock, like big concert venue thing. Well, that is a vanishingly small number of people, and so it could work, but it's all about the cult of personality and about marketing yourself. It's a separate business than teaching yoga to really make it. And the first one isn't teaching yoga, and the second one didn't appeal to me. So, when we talk about business and all the conversations that we have, I made up the business model that we use. There is no other place in the world that had a teacher training 3 years before they had a studio. Mm-hmm. Because for us, we get to choose what we're creating, and I didn't want a studio.
Right.
We have solutions to the problems of how to make just as much money as your parent as a yoga instructor.
Mm-hmm.
I win that game.
Right.
And so solving the problem of that game, this is one of the things the podcast we want to talk about and share, but the studio was always very low. It was never for me. I was never going to have a studio. And so when you kept bringing up a studio, and I said, great.
Go do it.
Yeah, go do it.
Because you didn't want a studio, I sort of had taken that off of my plate. Mm-hmm. Because I trust you. If you don't want a studio, I probably don't want one either. But
and you're used to not trusting yourself too.
Sure. But the thing that I couldn't sort of right myself with is that at this point we had trained 50 teachers. Mm-hmm. And it occurred to me that you can't, at that time, for you to teach at a studio, you couldn't teach what we teach. You have to teach the big yoga has a sequence. You have to teach 100%. Some version of this. And
there was no place for our graduates to teach.
Right. And as a class. They could teach private lessons, but
no place for them to teach. Venue for them to teach group yoga classes. For those of you that aren't as familiar as you could be with how teacher trainings work, studios are like coffee shops. They're not particularly profitable, because to get the number of students you need, you're competing with people who are offering $50 or $90 or $110 a month unlimited class passes with 100 classes a week. All right, so they're offering 100 different times a week that you can take a class, and then all you have to pay is $90 a month. It's like a LA Fitness membership. So with that business model, you literally can't pay your teachers anything. The studio Yoga One, which is the first yoga studio in Houston to be run as a business, which I love, right? I'm a huge fan that there are places in Houston that are run as businesses, regardless of what I think about the style or the business ethos or whatever. It's like finally a place with a little bit of business acumen. When they left, they were paying $30,000 a month in rent.
It's just insane.
Right? $30,000 a month. You can't do that with nothing per hour, plus the expenses of electricity and all your teachers, because you have to have a teacher teach 100 classes, hours. That's a huge liability every month. Well, what can we do? Well, we can solve two problems with the teacher training. I can create a farming system for new teachers, and then I can have them compete to teach for free. So it's like an apprenticeship program for the following year. And so a huge percentage of the teachers teaching at my studio can teach for free to gain that experience, to really I got the job, air quotes. And for the privilege of all that, to the privilege to be in the farming system and to compete to get the 2 free teaching gigs.
Tuition classes.
Oh, that you don't get paid. The people who go to the class pay. The people who go to the class pay the studio 100%. It's not a free class. You work for free. For the honor and privilege of that, you pay $3,000. And so think about that. Every 2 months, I get 20 people to pay me. I make $60,000 every 2 months falling out of the sky. And all that's doing is adding to the free labor pool that I get to choose from. And so then you graduate, you move to Houston from Minnesota or something. You're a highly trained, very successful yoga teacher in Minnesota. Where the fuck are you going to work? They don't have to hire you. They have no incentive to hire you. And you're not going to work for free. So you're kind of fucked. This is why I say a city like Houston needs 10,000 more yoga instructors and 700 more yoga studios. I just didn't want to
be the one to do it.
I didn't want to open it. But, I had all this experience teaching. When we started the teacher training, it was, 2014, over 20,000 classes taught. It's like, okay, I can document what I know that works, and then we test whether it's transferable. And you're the perfect example that it's transferable.
Lizzie, Lauren, Nick, Michelle.
We have more than 100 examples now of people, if you take their class, you would love their class, not because they're little Andrews, but because they're actually self-expressed human beings who it is clear that they're in the room for a reason, and they know the reason, and they tell you the reason, and it's a reason you like too. Right. And it's normally something like, I'm committed that you feel better. That's the thing that's missing in every class. And then there's the experience and knowledge to back it up. So we didn't do that. And, when we talk about our practice, we say in this style, we do everything the hard way.
Not the dumb way.
Not the dumb way. And would you say that running our business the way we run it, where we actually pay our teachers, whether it's 0 persons or 127 persons, we design a business where we have really low liability generally, but it's still a nice space. Everything we have chosen has been sustainable, but it's not easy. Would you agree with that?
Definitely.
Yeah. And it sounds like what you were saying before is that you having a purpose, like the why behind is the thing that's made all the difference.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Then further,
I couldn't be farther from the truth.
And it couldn't be. What's further from a lie? And I was telling my friend this the other day. When I look at what it has taken to even get here, just so many more words I could put in this.
Yep,
but to get, yes, I was like, ooh. My parents, seeing them.
Your parents were in the class I subbed this morning.
Yeah, they're 3 days a week minimum. They're driving down to Houston to do classes. I love it so much. My dad, when there were no classes, he's online doing yoga in his house. And, they are my inspiration in many, many ways. And it's because I love my parents, obviously, but everyone has parents. Everyone has family, and that I have people come to my classes that get to have a similar experience to my parents or myself is just, it makes all the hard work worth it.
One of the questions that, maybe we can talk about in the future, we touched on the stress of money is life, right? This idea. I wrote a relatively big list of the tricks that we use. Maybe we can do this as a part B. Why is it hard? You can't escape. When you go home, it's so easy to talk about business at 1 a.m. when
you're supposed to go to sleep.
When you're fucking supposed to go to sleep. It's actually hard for couples with proximity, because when you're familiar with things, it's just like we said before, you sort of treat people the way you treat yourself. And the closer they are to you, the meaner you get to be to them, right? Think about how mean you can be to your dog.
Yeah. I think I've had to make some commitments as far as that's concerned, like how I talk to you, how I relate to you, or I really pay attention to, because the most important thing to me isn't what we're doing, it's how we're doing it and who we're being as we're doing what we're doing. If I'm going to do something, I'm not going to have it be a burden on my family. Like even last night, we were getting the kids' stuff together for school, and I caught myself feeling burdened by it and sort of grumpy. And it occurred to me, oh man, school supplies, I used to have, they used to be so exciting.
Exactly.
And it was like I flipped a switch. And I was like, I got to be excited with the kids. Stop being a poopy pants. That's right.
You better put that lip in, or a bird's going to poopy on it.
Strategies like choosing, it's one of the things I've been playing around with recently. Things, especially the things I'm resisting or the things I really want to be different. What if I chose it? And then playing around with
me.
Yeah.
I choose you too.
I choose you. I choose you.
I choose you too.
Toot toot.
Well, I want to honor your time, and I respect that you have a lesson. So I guess I'll let you go. So thank you so much. I choose you.
I choose you too. There's so many more things I want to talk about.
For sure.
Oh my God, this is so good. I can't even stand it. So I'm sitting down. Currently, I am folding in
Microwave that.
semi-sweet chocolate morsels into the batter, which has already white chocolate morsels. We should add some
That is her microphone voice where she enunciates everything.
So very nice to have all of you join me for my cooking class today. Thank you very much.
Something seems different with your voice.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. Everything is fine. Fine! We're all fine here. Everything is okie dokie. Which is exactly something an Englishman would not say. It's okie dokie.
Really ironically.
Cinnamon. Would you like to add some cinnamon, do you think?
Sure, I don't know about cinnamon.
Cinnamon.
You don't know about cinnamon? Well, cinnamon comes from a bark of tree.
That's a pretty tune.
This podcast was produced in Houston, Texas by the world-renowned Sarah Bellum and myself, Andrew Dugas.
Say again?
You got some flip-flops or sandals to put on because you're liable to step in dog poop.
I'm
First,
good.